was living in a rental house in a semi-rural New England town. My father was traveling for work at the time. I had just turned 18. Sometime after midnight, I awoke to my mother calling my name from the living room. She sounded anxious. My mother panics easily, so I wasn't too worried. I got out of bed and went to see what was up. As I entered the living room, I asked why all the lights were off. My sister said,
"Someone's taking pictures."
I asked what she meant, and she replied that she had seen camera flashes outside. My mother told me she had also seen the flashes. I was dismissive right away. I told them it was lightning, or distant car headlights passing through the trees. They both insisted it was a camera flash. A few moments later, I saw the same flash. It wasn't anything like lightning. It didn't illuminate the sky. The flash was local, at ground level. It had a focal point of origin, just like a camera flash. It was coming from the woods behind the house. I recall asking if we should call the police, but I was young and stupid, and went outside to confront or chase off whoever this person was. Once I was outside, my mother followed me, clutching a portable landline phone and stating loudly, meant to be heard by whoever was in the woods, that she was going to call the police. Once we were outside, the flash grew more frequent. It appeared to move, but the source stayed hidden in the woods. My courage faltered, and I wasn't willing to go into the woods to investigate. The flash moved quickly, never occurring in the same spot twice, but traveling impossible distances among the trees. Then my mother and I were both pelted with rocks, a handful of small pebbles and gravel. We couldn't discern where the stones were thrown from. Then the flashes stopped. My mother and I went back inside and stayed awake for hours, debating the source of the flash and the pebbles. The flash didn't happen again. The incident lasted maybe 10 minutes, but I still think about it very often. I met a dude on an AOL chat room way back in the day who said he often goes into the Danbury, Connecticut abandoned mental hospital. It was the building that they used for a few movies and also filmed some of those reality-type ghost shows, like MTV Fear. I mentioned being interested in checking it out. So he said I should come on down. He would give me a personal tour. I got 3 friends together, and on a whim, drove down there at like 1 a.m. I get to the meetup spot, and this dude is just there in his car. Sort of scrawny dude, pretty friendly. He seemed shocked that I brought so many people. But we walked into the woods and got into the abandoned building, when his friend, who was already inside, came around the corner wearing black gloves and holding a claw hammer. He didn't mention having a friend in there. And he didn't jump out to scare us or anything. So one of 2 things was happening. Either they were going to murder me and decided to back out when they realized we had 4 people, or he was just trying to play a prank and planned on scaring us. I would guess if it was a prank, that they would have continued with it and scared us anyway. So I don't really know what to think. We got the full tour of the place, then we went home. I could never find the guy again. I went online to tell him thanks, but all his profiles were deleted. I was a freshman in college, at a very stereotypical New England campus, in a very typical small New England village by the ocean. And of course, it was around Halloween. The entire scene was very much straight out of a movie. I was with two friends, and we walked just off campus to grab some pizza. As we're leaving, there's this old woman who's standing in the middle of the parking lot, kind of just staring. And then she just lets out this terrifying scream. We were definitely a bit disturbed by it, and we started walking briskly back down to our dorm, which involved walking across a dimly lit quad and tree-covered walkway, with leaves rustling, and all the makings for a creepy movie scene. As we're nearing the dorm, we turn a corner around a building, and I see out of the corner of my eyes what looks like someone standing there 100 feet away or so, just staring at us. I then realize it's the same woman that was screaming in the parking lot. I tell my friends to turn around, and they immediately see what I saw. We kind of say, "Holy shit," stand there for a second looking at her, and the way she stared was so creepy that we lost our shit and ran right off to the dorm, which wasn't far away. We have no idea why or what she was screaming at that first time. It wasn't at us, and we were the only ones around. And we also had no idea how this old woman managed to get ahead of us and to the location where we saw her again. I mean, it wasn't completely impossible, but would have involved some serious running or jogging and going a long way around the straightforward route we were taking, which provided decent visibility in terms of people crossing over in front of us. And we were sober too, so it wasn't like we confused two old women. This was in Boston when I was a student in college. This was a really rough time. I was struggling with my classes and behind on everything. The guilt was too hard to be honest with my parents. So I stayed in the city for Thanksgiving break. I went down Newbury Street and browsed some stores randomly. I ate at the U-Burger around there. I saw a guy eating there, just an ordinary guy wearing an overcoat. I left. I wandered around, going a bit up into the city, around the Prudential Center area. That evening, there was a Boston Symphony performance going on. I got the seat in the mezzanine gallery all the way at the back. This was the section that only students with university passes sat in, because if you were a paying customer, you probably had any other seat. But the same guy was there, a row diagonally behind me. After an epic performance, I left very early. I had exams the next Monday. For the third stop, I ate dinner in the North End. It was a seafood restaurant. I was waiting on my order when he walked in through the door and sat down. This was the first time I think he looked at me, but he didn't say anything. I took the T back to Alston to meet up with a classmate at his apartment to drink, since we weren't old enough to get into bars. And he was there too. I took the stairs up and just stopped. I watched him go past the doorway to the stairwell down the hallway, presumably to the elevator. I was certain he didn't go on the same train, and it's impossible he would have known where I'd gotten off. It looked very ordinary and indifferent. It just struck me as coincidental that I'd run into somebody that many times in a day, within the same window in a city like that. The first area makes sense. You want to hang around for a symphony performance. Cool. But the north end is some ways off. Then Alston is doubling way back past the initial area. I think the implication to creepify this is that he was following me. But I think really in reality, across the span of your life, something like that probably happens once or twice on pure coincidence. But still, if you're not familiar with Boston, take your own city and dartboard 4 spots in 3 different districts at 4 different times. And imagine someone else having your exact itinerary for the day, and that you're arriving around 5 minutes early each stop.